Shri Gurubhyo Namah. A very warm welcome to this third talk in the series by Vidushi Maitri Gowswami ji on the topic role of Dharma in the pursuit of Moksha. So just a brief introduction to Maitri ji for those who have not attended yesterday's session but are available today. Maitri ji is a practitioner of Pushti Bhakti Marg and a direct descendant of Mahaprabhu Sri Vallabhacharya ji. She has pursued MA from Sampurnanand Vishwavidyalaya Varanasi with Vedanta as her main subject. And as the descendant of Sri Vallabhacharya ji, she has sampradayically studied all the shastras of the Pushti Bhakti Marga from her father Sri Sharad Goswami ji and her guru Goswami Sri Shyam Manohar ji for the last 14 years. And along with it, she has also studied Samskrita Vyakaran, Nyaya, Sankhya, and other shastras and darshanas as well. And she is currently also working with her father at Sri Vallabhacharya Vidyapeeth, established in Gujarat, for the purpose of promoting, preserving, and teaching the Vedic shastras and the granthas of Vallabha Sampradaya. She also teaches Vallabha Vedanta as a diploma course in the Department of Philosophy, University of Mumbai, and is about to start a course on life and works of Vallabhacharya for Indica courses. We are very glad to have you here, Maitri ji. Welcome back. So yesterday, Maitri ji gave a very wonderful introduction, an overview of Dharma, basic definition of Dharma, and different forms of Dharma in the form of Shrauta Dharma, Smarta Dharma, etc. So she will continue with this discussion and build upon this discussion. In case you have not attended yesterday's sessions, you can go to our YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel is Advaita Academy, and you can watch yesterday's sessions afterwards, and so that then the whole thing you will be able to appreciate much more in a better way. So with this very brief comments, Maitri ji, over to you.
So in the yesterday's session, we had been through the meaning of Dharma, how Dharma has been defined, what is the etymological meaning of Dharma, what are the aspects and perspectives of Dharma which are supposed to be discussed. And the most important aspect which we wanted to discuss in the yesterday's session was that each and every statement from the Shastra where Dharmic ordinance has been given or Dharma has been taught is with respect to the aspect of the person, and we have to decide the format of Dharma on the basis of Vyakti Dharma, Parivarik Dharma, Samaj Dharma, Rashtra Dharma, etc. And only if it is taken in that particular context, a person can understand the interpretation of that statement from the Shastra accordingly and can follow what has been preached there. In the second session, we went through a brief introduction to what are Shrauta Dharma and Smarta Dharma, and what are the perspectives of Shrauta Dharma and Smarta Dharma in accordance to salvation or Mukti. Even today's session will have the discussions upon the context of Mukti by considering Karma Marg, Gyan Marg, and Upasana Marg, and the Dharmic ordinances based upon these methods as per the Acharyas who have preached Dharma and who have propagated the Sampradayas for propagating a methodology for attaining Mukti and salvation. So starting from Shankaracharya, Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya, Bhaskaracharya, Shripati Bhagavad-Padacharya and Vallabhacharya, these are the Acharyas and many more who have written commentaries upon Brahma Sutra and have their own opinion regarding the methods for attaining Mukti and what dharmic statements mean. So we will go through the interpretations of these revered Acharyas who have explained the tradition, the methodologies for attaining moksha. The remaining part, which was missed yesterday, was about Purana Dharma. We were short with the time. That's why we had discussed the Shrauta Dharma and Smarta Dharma, but Puranic Dharma and Tantra Dharma were remaining. So, starting with that, after having a short introduction to Puranic Dharma and Tantra Dharma, we will switch to the opinions of Acharyas regarding the Mukti Marg. So in Shrauta Dharma and Smarta Dharma, we understood that Shrauta Dharma focuses mainly upon Yagya Dharma, Yagya Karma, and the whole format of Dharma, Arth, Kam, and Moksha Purushartha in Ved is in the format of Yagya. So the 5 types of Yagya which have been preached in Ved, they have been accepted as the path for attaining Mukti. And about that, we went through the interpretation, the conclusion Bhagavan Shri Krishna made in Bhagavad Gita by saying that if a person is a Brahmagyani, and along with Brahmagyan, if he is performing karma, then that type of karma will lead a person towards moksha, towards mukti. And that's why that karma, that yagya karma, should not just be used as or interpreted just as a physical activity, but should be understood with all its philosophical and adhyatmic aspects, so that we can understand that yagya karma is just not a mere physical activity, and it has many deeper aspects which have been elaborated in Samhita, Brahmana Granthas, and in Upanishads as well. So today, when we will go through the opinions of Acharyas, they will also elaborate the meaning of Yagya, Yagya Karma in the respect to Mukti. We went through the meaning of Smarta Dharma, where we understood that Smruti, the Dharma preached in Smruti, can be complementary to the Veda as well, and in some case, Smarta Dharmas have been preached as independent methods for attaining Mukti as well. So when a person is eligible for performing Shrauta Dharma, at that time he can use the Acharya tradition of Smritis for the sake of complementing his Shrauta Dharma. And if a person is not remaining eligible for performing Shrauta Dharma, then in that case, a person should concentrate upon the Smarta Dharma and should attain Mukti appropriately by using those methods. So now, as in the third number, we have Pauranika Dharma and Tantra Dharma. As we had discussed in yesterday's session, that Karma Marg, Gyan Marg, and Upasana Marg have been elaborated as the 3 traditions for attaining Mukti by different acharyas, and the acharyas belonging to those particular traditions and who have propagated sampradayas for preaching the method of attaining mukti have mainly focused upon karma marg, gyan marg, and upasana marg. So the broad classification of these 3 methods can be done on the basis of dividing the subject matter of shastras by majorly saying that Purva Kand of Ved is focused upon karma marg, Uttar Kand of Ved is focused upon gyan marg. Smriti Shastras being complementary to Ved and as a preacher of independent Mukti Marg as well, they focus upon karma, gyan, and upasana, all these 3 traditions, while Pauranika Dharma and Tantra Dharma, they focus upon the upasana tradition mainly. So as we had discussed that even when we say that we have to use the dharma in the pursuit of moksha, at that time even mukti is encompassing many types of mukti in its broad sense, and the mukti marg, as the marg differs, even the phal bhed happens. So on the basis of sadhan bhed, we have the varieties in phal also. So the most basic type of mukti can be Swarupa Sthiti, in which Jivatma attains its original form and remains in the Chaitanya form. And the types of mukti which can be attained through Karma Marga are the Prapti of Yagya Narayan, if it is performed with the respect of Upasana. And if the same karma is performed with the intention of attaining moksha by Nishkam Karma, as we understood yesterday, where Bhagavan said that by performing the Yagya with Brahma Gyan, a person can attain Brahmatmakta. So in that case, Karma Marg can be used accordingly as well. And when we switch to the Gyan Marg, then Gyan Marg even incorporates Karma and Upasana in it. And that's why we understood that many acharyas have accepted integration of karma, gyan, and upasana, all these three traditions. And for some acharyas, they bear the opinion that one method should be prioritized, and other two should be the secondary source for attaining mukti, and they could be complementary to the main method which has been chosen by a person for attaining moksha. But still, even if a person chooses karma marg, he he accompanies Gyan Marg and Upasana tradition inside the Karma Marg by making it the main focused method for attaining moksha. So now switching to the Puranic Dharma and Tantra Dharma, Upasana tradition is the focused aspect of Puranic Dharma and Tantra Dharma both. And when Puranas teach Dharma, they preach Dharma. When Tantra preach Dharma, at that time they focus upon the deity worship. So in the definition of Yagya, as we understood yesterday, that even the definition of Yagya incorporates the Upasana of Devata, because each and every Yagya karma will have its Adhisthata Devata who will be ruling the Yagya karma, and that devata is worshipped through the yagya tradition. So if a person, it completely depends upon the mindset of the person. So falabhed happens not just with the sadhan ved, but also with the ved, the differences in the intentions of the yagya karta or karma karta. So if the person is having the intention of attaining mukti through the karma, then his karma will take that particular format. The vidhi will not change. The format of the physical activity of the yagya karma will not change. But as his intention is changing, the devta will respond appropriately. So if the same karma is done with sakam buddhi, then that karma will generate that type of phal. With Nishkam Buddhi, if the same dharma is being followed, then that dharma will generate a different phal. If that dharma is being done with the intention of Devatodeshana Dravya Tyagaha, then that devata will respond appropriately. And if the same yagya karma is performed with the intention of attaining moksha or mukti, then that yagya karma and the devata who is the adhisthata of that yagya karma will respond appropriately. So the same thing is about the mindset, and the main focused thing which results into the phal is about the mindset of the person who is performing that dharma karya as per the vidhi of the shastra. So the Puranic Dharma and Tantra Dharma are also explained as the substitute of Shrauta Dharma and Smarta Dharma. As in today's evening session, we will be focusing upon the aspect of Dharma in the context of Kali Yuga, because as a question arose yesterday, that the time period in which we are surviving is not the time in which it is possible for a person to follow Varnashrama Dharma, or even it is possible for a person to follow Smart or Shrauta Dharma. So in that case, what are the substitutes of Shrauta and Smarta Dharma which have been preached by the Dharma Shastras? Because again, when we are incapable of, or we are not eligible of for performing a particular Dharma Karya, so if the Shastra is providing Smarta Dharma, which is complementary to Shrauta Dharma and even as an option or anukalpa to Shrauta Dharma. Same way, Puranic Dharma and Tantra Dharma have also been preached as complementary Dharma to Shrauta and Smarta Dharma, while they have also been preached as an independent method for attaining Mukti, and specifically the Mukti in the Devata, the worshipped deity. The most heinous thing which happened currently is that we have been taught that Puranas are mythological texts, and the storylines which have been there in Puranas are just myths, like fairy tales, and we have to interpret Puranas likewise. And they don't have any type of content in them other than entertaining the people by speaking the stories. But all the acharyas, revered acharyas who have interpreted Dharma, who have explained Dharma from Shruti and Smruti, they have been very clear regarding their opinion that Puranas are not myths, They just don't have storylines in them, but those storylines are there for preaching the Purusharthas to the people who are reading and following the Dharma mark. So, as we had the example of Bhagavan Sri Ram yesterday, that when we read Pitru Devo Bhava from Shruti, we don't understand its implementation in our day to day life if we don't go through the life story of Bhagavan Sri Ram when he abandoned his kingdom for keeping the promise of his father. So, he considered his father's promise to be more important and left his kingdom, went to the exile for 14 years, and happily and with complete satisfaction and contentment, he provided the whole kingdom to Bharat. While Bharat being a brother, he felt that being a younger brother, it was important for him to keep the promise of his father along with maintaining the respect of his elder brother. So this is the way Dharma Purusharth has been interpreted and understood from the Puranas and Aitriya Granthas, which incorporate Ramayana and Mahabharata. And that's why Pauranic Dharma have been understood and accepted as complementary to Shraut and Smarta Dharma for providing a detailed and brief explanation to what Shraut Dharma and Smarta Dharma are and how a person is supposed to follow the Shraut and Smarta Dharma in their day-to-day life, so that they can understand the texts of Shruti and Smruti by having the live examples of the person who have followed the Dharma in their day-to-day life. So Pauranika Dharma and Tantra Dharma are considered to be, Puranas are considered as Panchama Ved, and Puran play a vital role in preaching Dharma with this context and also with the context of explaining the Mukti Marg by the worshipping tradition, Upasana tradition. So Puranas are the texts which have elaborated 10 types of acts of the deity, and 18 Puranas have been divided into three parts. The Puranas which are dedicated for explaining the worshipping tradition of Vishnu and his incarnations. Some Puranas teach and preach the Upasana tradition for worshipping Shiv as the main deity. And the third type of Puranas, the third category, preach the Shakta Dharma, in which the Upasana tradition of Shakti is being elaborated. And same is about the Agama Tantras as well. This part of scriptures, even they have explained the worshipping tradition. And in the format of Sampradayas, Shaiva, Vaishnava, and Shakta Sampradayas. So, Pauranika Dharma specifically focus upon the form of deity, how the deity is worshipped as the eternal reality, and the person who is initiated into the worshipping tradition, how he should worship the deity for the sake of attaining Mukti. So Puranas are the Mahapurana and Puran. There are four types of Puranas. Again, they are of the nature of Mahapuran, Atipuran, Upapuran, and Puran, based upon the content they elaborate. But the Mahapuran have elaborated 10 types of uh, Leelas of the eternal reality to be worshipped in the form of a deity. So, starting from Sarga, Visarga, Sthan, Poshan, Uti, Manvantar, Ishanukatha, Nirodha, Mukti, and Ashray. These are the 10 Leelas of the eternal reality, which have been explained in Puranas, and the format of Dharma even remains in consideration to how a person should worship the deity. So, in the Sarga Leela, the creation of the whole universe is explained in context of the deity who is focused in that particular Puran. So, if the Puran is a Shaiva Puran, it will explain the procedure of creation through Shiv. Same is about Vishnu and Shakti, respectively. In Visarga, the creation of the Devtas is explained, and by keeping the focused deity as the supreme devata and other devatas as the followings of that particular deity or Parameshwar, Paramatma, or Parabrahma. The Sthan Leela explains the creation of the universal objects. Poshan Leela, the fourth aspect of Puranas, explain that how the deity is taking care of the creation and living and non-living objects he created. Utilila explains the aspect of karma vasana, that how the devata is establishing karma vasana in the beings, and the karma vasana is of three types: sat karma vasana, asat karma vasana, and sadasat karma vasana. So there, the deity supremacy is explained, where it is said that the good and bad karma we involve into, those are ultimately ruled by the kriya shakti of Brahman, and that's why the intensity and the intention behind the karma we perform is ruled by the devta himself, and that's why the Uti Lila explains the aspect of karma vasana. So the way even Chandogya Upanishad explains that Saiva sadhu karma karayati, Saiva sadhu karma karayati. So there Upanishad explains that if the deity wants to provide bad result or papa phal to a person, then he will inspire that person, that being, to involve himself in the asat karmas, asadhu karmas. And if the deity is willing to provide the good result to the person, then in that case, deity will be inspiring him towards the sadhu karma. So in Bhagavad Gita as well, Bhagavan says that Ishwar himself uh, chooses the beings into Daivi and Asuri Sampatti, and their karma, their intention for performing the karma, their mindset behind the karma is ruled by the deity himself. So Utilila explains the aspect of karma vasana, where deity remains the supreme, his desire and his intentions remain the supreme, and the beings will behave accordingly as per the desire of the worshipped deity. Manvantar Leela explains the whole timeline in the frame of timing in which the universe is bound. Ishanu Katha explains the worshipping tradition in which the storylines of devotees are explained. The devotees who worshipped the Devata, the devotees who attained the Mukti or salvation in the Devata as per his desire. So, Ish Anu Katha, it means Ish means the deity, Anu means the beings who are following the deity or worshipping the deity, and Katha means the storyline of the followings of the Devata. So the whole Upasana tradition is explained in Ishanu Katha by giving the examples of the people who worshipped the deity and attained the supreme result with the grace of the deity. Nirodha Leela explains the term Nirodha means Prapancha Vismruti Purvak Asakti. So when you forget all the universal boundages and become completely engrossed in the deity, that type of samadhi, equivalent condition to samadhi in the bhakti tradition, upasana tradition, is known as nirodha. Then comes the mukti lila, in which sayujya, sarshti, sarupya, salokya, etc. These types of mukti are attained by the beings as per their own desire, as per the sadhan they performed, and as per the desire of the deity. And the last one is Ashray Leela, which explains that whole universe will ultimately gets refuge in the divine fate of the deity. And that's why each and every being, each and every living or non-living object will ultimately attain refuge in the Ishwar, in the deity, which has been the focused aspect of Pauranika Dharma. So Puranas just don't have storylines, but these stories have been placed for explaining these 10 acts of the focus, the Devata, the deity, Vishnu, Shiva, and Shakti, and the beings, the individual beings, the Jivatmas, the devotees who want to involve themselves in the worshipping tradition, in the Upasana tradition, for the sake of attaining the Mukti in that particular deity, that particular Devata, then that person will follow these Pauranic dharmas, Tantra dharmas, for worshipping the deity accordingly. He will be able to understand the divine acts of the deity with the respect of these 10 acts the deity performs for the sake of devotees, and he will be inspired to attain mukti with the respect in consideration to the mukti which has been preached in Puranas and Tantras. So, what I mean by elaborating the meaning of Pauranic Dharma and Tantra Dharma is that it is not so that only Shrauta Dharma, Smarta Dharma, which are framed in the framework of Yagya Karma, or in Nitya and Naimitya Karma are the only options for attaining Mukti. But Pauranic Dharma and Tantra Dharma are also accepted as the paths for attaining Moksha. But again, as we understood in the Smarta Dharma, that Smarta Dharma can be complementary to Shrauta Dharma. Same way, Shrauta Dharma and Smarta Dharma are not excluded when Puranic and Tantric Dharma are preached by Puranas and Tantras. So, a person who is involved in the worshipping tradition, even he should follow Shrauta and Smarta Dharma empathetically, and all the acharyas who have propagated the sampradayas under the major paths of Vaishnava tradition or Shaiva tradition or Shakta tradition, even they have emphasized upon following the path of Shruti and Smruti as per the capacity of the person, along with following the Puranic and Tantra Dharma. So, what I mean is that as in the yesterday's session, we understood that these dharmas, the Varnashram Dharma, the Smart and the Shrauta Dharma, they work like the shell for protecting the dharmic anushtanas which have been preached, and it is good for a person to be in that shell for being protected. So, as we will go through the opinions of Acharyas regarding the result of Karma Marg, Gyan Marg, and Mukti Marg independently and even in an integrated way. But in a nutshell, if we want to conclude this thing, then we must understand that Chitta Shuddhi or Sattvikta, attaining Nirgunata are the most basic eligibility criteria when a person is uh, standing on the path of Moksha Marg. So if a person is there on the Mukti Marg, he should be clear that attaining Nirgunata, attaining Sattvic Tash is the most basic eligibility criteria, which can only be attained through Deha Shuddhi, Indriya Shuddhi, Prana and Antahkarana Shuddhi, by understanding the form of Jivatma, by understanding the form of the ultimate reality in whichever form. If in Upasana tradition, then he can equivalently understand the form of the deity in Nirakar and Sakar, both the forms. While if the person is following the path of karma or gyan, he should focus upon, if on the karma part, then the yagya will be, the devta will be worshipped in the form of yagya. And if on the gyan marg, then Nirakar form of the Ishwar, Nirakar form of the ultimate reality will be worshipped through Gyan. And if a person is following the path of Purana Dharma or Tantra Dharma, then he will be focusing upon the Sakar form of the Ishwar by keeping Nirakarta and Sakarta both as two sides of a single coin. So Purana Dharmas are important in that way, and a person while reading the Puranas, he goes through the storylines of the people who followed the Dharma, he gets inspired, he gets better understanding of what Shruti and Smruti Shastras mean and how the people have implemented those dharmas in their day-to-day life. So Puranic Dharma should not be misunderstood as the mythological texts. They should not be understood by saying that they are just myths and they don't have any type of philosophical content in them, and the storylines are just for entertaining the people. But they have the same way people understand Yagya by saying nowadays that even if Yagya is not generating any type of adhyatmic result or a spiritual result, we must see the environmental benefits of performing Yagya by saying that when the smoke of the yagya, the divine smoke of the yagya comes out of the yagya vedi. At that time, the environment gets purified, the oxygen is generated, or that type of environmental benefits. Same is happening with all the methods. While even in the yoga marg, people are misinterpreting yoga marg as the yoga being beneficial to the health, and they don't understand the philosophical and spiritual aspects behind the yoga marg, which are actually preached for the sake of mukti. While pranayam and asana being practiced nowadays by people for health benefits, they are just a nominal aspect of yoga marg for the sake of asana siddhi and nothing else, just for practicing the art of concentration. So what I mean is that these dharmas, when we are not aware about the spiritual and philosophical aspect of these dharma, we feel that these dharmas and these anushtanas are preached for the sake of these nominal benefits people see on just on the basis of their empirical experiences, but they are not aware about the spiritual, the adhyatmic and adhyamic aspects of those dharmanushtanas. But if we understand the meaning of these dharmas all together, Shauta, Smart, and Puran, Tantra, all these dharmas, then we can understand that they just don't bear any just negligibly counted empirical results or empirical outcomes, but they are focusing upon the adhyatmic and adhidaivic aspects of those anushtanas. So, in that respect, we need to understand that Purana and Tantra Dharma have also been preached for the sake of preaching the four Purusharthas, and specifically for the people who are not eligible for reading the Veda, or who are not eligible for performing Shraut and Smarta Dharma. In modern context as well, they should focus upon Puranic and Tantra Dharma for even for attaining Brahma Gyan, even for attaining Mukti, even for attaining Chitta Shuddhi and Nirgunta as the most eligible criteria for attaining Moksha. So now switching towards the topic which we had to discuss today in the respect of considering Karma Marg or Dharma in the pursuit of Moksha. So we will be going through the opinions of different acharyas, starting from Shankaracharya till Vallabhacharya, by discussing their opinions about the integration of karma, gyan, and upasana, while keeping these three paths independent from each other, and by keeping these three paths as complementary to the methods, complementary methods for attaining moksha. So the whole tradition of karma, specifically Shraut and Smarta karma, or we must just say that only Shrauta karma, have been explained in Mimamsa Shastra in detail. And there are Mimamsa Sutras which are written by Maharshi Jaimini, which start from Athato Dharma Jigyasa. And there the whole aspect of karma, dharma, purushartha has been elaborated by Maharshi Jaimini, which is popularly known as Mimamsa Shastra. And there are two type of commentators upon Mimamsa Shastra. One is from Nirishwar tradition and one is from Seshwar tradition. So if going forward with the discussion regarding the aspects of karma, how karma are beneficial, how the Shruti and Smrutis have interpreted karma marg, and what are the empirical benefits of karma, and what are the adhyatmic and adhidaivic aspects of karma, specifically in the going with the respect of Mimamsa Shastra. We are going to raise some questions. We are trying to understand the format of karma as explained by Jaimini in both the aspects, in the Nireshwar aspect as well and in Seshwar aspect as well. And then focusing upon the type of mukti which should be discussed in respect of karma, and then with the opinions of the acharyas regarding the mukti marg by integration of karma, gyan, and upasana, and also without engaging gyan and upasana into karma and keeping karma as an independent path for attaining mukti. So there has been a conflict regarding what should be the form of karma, how karma marg should be accepted, what should be the format of karma, and how karmas are supposed to be interpreted for the sake of understanding mukti marg and using karma marg as a path for attaining moksha. So the first question which raises regarding the karma, because of its physical aspect, is that karma are supposed to be accepted as anitya dharma, because whatever is related to our physical body should be anitya, because our physical body is mortal. One or the other day it will die, and along with the our physical abilities, the physical karma also also gets destroyed. So, for example, if I am engaging myself in a particular deed, let us not discuss about Yagya karma, only a simple type of deed which we do in our day-to-day life. In that case, we witness that karma is anitya. It means just on the basis of our empirical experience that I was having food and that kriya ended after I stopped eating the food and stopped using my physical body for having food. So here the question arises that if karma is anitya, the kriya shakti of a human being is anitya, mortal beings is anitya, because kriya should also be accepted as a mortal concept. And if it is a mortal concept, then how can it generate an immortal result, which is moksha, mukti. And how can it be beneficial to the Jivatma, which is not mortal, but which is an immortal being? It is a nitya object. So Jivatma is nitya, while body and indriya are anitya. So how can the karma being done by the mortal organs can be beneficial to the immortal being? And for explaining this question and for giving it a strong back, there are some Shastric references which have been used by the people who ask these questions regarding the format of karma. That karma will also generate only mortal results, but not any type of immortal results. So, for example, a Shruti says, Somena yajeta swarga kamaha. If a person wants to attain the Swarga Lok, he should perform Somyagya. Now, Swarga Lok is also a mortal place, and the person who is going to the Swarga Lok after completing the credits of his Punya Karma, he will come back to this world, and that's why Swarga Lok, attaining Swarga Lok cannot be considered as an immortal result. Same is about Darsha Purna Masabhyam Swarga Kamo Yajeta Agnihotram Juhoti Hiranya Matreya Ayadati. So here in both these, all these Shruti Vachan, the Purupakshi, the one who is asking the question regarding the immortality of the karma, they ask that if the Shruti itself is denoting all the type of Nashvant results, all the type of mortal results, how can we say that karma marg can be beneficial for the sake of attaining immortal results? The third question which is raised regarding considering karma marg as mukti marg is that whenever a karta is having the ego of being the karta to that particular karma, only then he involves himself in karma. For example, if someone asks me that who is performing this yagya karma, and I'll say that I am doing this. So with the I-ness, I am expressing the ahanta. I am expressing my dehabhiman by keeping my eligibility into mind that I am a person who has attained Yagyopavita Diksha. I am eligible for performing this karma. And because of this dehabhiman, because of this kartrutva bhiman, I am eligible for performing this yagya karma. So the question arises that if Dehabhiman is the opposite thing to the Mukti, because Mukti is attained only if a person remains away from the Dehabhiman, he is free from Ahanta, he is free from the I-ness, and only then he becomes eligible for attaining Mukti, because Mukti the concept of Mukti is only understood in the context of abolishing the 5 aspects of avidya, which are dehadyas, indriyadyas, pranadyas, antahkaranadyas, and swarupa vismriti. So a person needs to understand the difference between the body and the soul, and only then, for the sake of the soul, to make the soul free from the bondages of body, a person enters into the mukti marg. So if the abhiman, if the ahanta, if the I-ness is the opposite character of mukti, how can a person who is engaged in karma with Kartrutva be eligible for attaining moksha? And regarding to this concept, how can karma marg be accepted as a method for attaining moksha? Or how a person who is having the abhiman of dharma, here let us understand that karma and dharma are being understood as synonym to each other, because whatever is being preached as the duty to the person is being implemented by a person in the form of kriya or a karma. So a person who is having this ahanta, this type of kartrutva abhiman, should not be considered as an eligible person for attaining mukti. The next question which arises regarding the karma marg is that as a solution, it is suggested as a solution that let us keep karma marg as the secondary aspect of Gyan or bhakti tradition, upasana tradition, and we must understand that a person can attain Mukti through Gyan Marg or Bhakti Marg by keeping karma as the complementary method, not as the main focused method. And that's why, by concluding all these questions, some Purupakshis wants to say that that's why all the Kriya Nirupaka Vakya from Veda are supposed to be considered as Arthavad. It means they are just not useful at all. they are not used for attaining any type of immortal result, but that karma marg should only be accepted as a path for explaining the mortal results, and for the people who are just only focused upon attaining earth and calm purusharthas at the end of their life by performing yagya karma. Because yagya karma can fulfill earth purusharth, it can provide you the kama purusharth, but not the moksha purusharth. And that's why this method of karma, this method of dharma, Shrauta dharma and Smarta dharma both, should only be considered for attaining mortal results and not immortal results, which is mukti. There are some questions which have been raised regarding the results, the immortal results, which have been propagated somewhere in the Shastras through the Karma Marga. So the first question raises regarding the fruit which is being mentioned in the Karma Marga by performing a particular Yagya Karma, or by performing any type of Nitya Naimittik Karma, by saying that if a karma is a kshanasthai, it means that the karma being performed by a person will only remain for a moment, and after the person engages in a different type of karma, that karma is destroyed, and that's why there is no type of result oriented activity which should be accepted in karma marg. The Nirishwar commentators of Mimamsa Sutras, they even have the opinion regarding the karma that if the yagyas are being regulated by a devata, and if a person says by focusing upon the adhyatmic or adhyaivic aspect of the karma, by saying that a devata is regulating the dharma karya, and that's why whatever dharma you perform, a person performs, reaches to the devata through Agni, through adhyatmic procedure, to the Adidev of that Devata, and that Devata will provide you the result. Maybe mortal result, it may be immortal result, but whatever type of result a person attains through Yagya Karma, he attains that that result of the Yagya Karma through the Devata. Now, the Nireshwar school of Mimamsa has opinion that Devatas are not in the form of any other Dev. They don't have any type of body. The way we read in Puranas that there is a form of Vishnu, there is a form of Indra. They have a place. Like Indra is the king of Swarga Lok, or Vishnu is there in Vaikuntha Lok, or Shiv is there in Kailash Lok likewise. So Vaidika Devatas are not in the form of a devata, in the form of they don't have any body or they don't have any lok, but they just have the form of they are in the form of mantratmaka devata. So whenever we speak out the mantra, whenever we chant the mantra, at that time the devata is in the form of mantra, and that mantra itself will provide you the result of that karma. So karma will generate the result on its own without interference of any devata, Ishwar, or Brahman. So this is the question which is raised, that do really we consider the whole aspect of karma and karma phal, and we accept, even we accept it, or the people must accept that karmas are ruled by the mantratmaka devtas, and that's why the independence is there in the hands of the karma karta, and that's why whatever sort of karma he performs, he will attain the result, as the karma will provide the result on its own without interference of any devata or Ishwar. So this is also a Purva Paksh which is raised regarding raised by the Nirishwar school of Mimamsa, where karma have been interpreted in this way, and the whole independence of performing the karma and attaining good and bad result of the karma is given in the hand of Jivatmas, individual beings. Now, the third question which raises because of the second Mimamsa Sutra of Jaimini, where Amnayasya Kriyarthatva Danarthakyamata Padarthanam Tasmat Anityatva Muchyate. So, from this sutra, the interpretations are made by saying that whatever type of Kriyarthatva, the Karmatva has been explained in the Veda Vakyas, that type of karma are not being focused by the Ved, but they are just completely nirarthak. That's why these type of karmas are not given the original form of Dharma Gyan. They don't generate any type of Dharma Gyan. That's why the whole Ved, whatever the karma which has been explained in the Purva Kand of the Ved, should be considered as Arthavad, and whatever has been said there is just for praising the person who is involved in the who is having faith in the Vidivakya, but not having any type of understanding in the spiritual and philosophical aspects of Yagya Karma. So even this is a opinion where it is said that Apoorva will provide you the result. The Nireshwar school of Mimamsa says that you don't need to have any type of Brahma Gyan, you don't need to focus upon any type of Devata for attaining the result of the karma. But there is a Tattva, there is a object named Apoorva, and Apoorva itself generates the phal of karma without having the interference of Devata in it. That's why whatever kriya you perform during the yagya karma or while performing the nitya and naimittik karma, at that time all the kriyas are kshanik. It means they survive only for the moment. And the yagya kriya is also considered to be surviving only for a moment, because whenever we are focusing or upon a particular devata while performing the dravya tyag for the devata, at that time it is known as yagya, and that devata is in the form of mantra. So the very moment you perform the karma, the very moment you chant the mantra, at that time that dravya, that mantratmaka devata will be engrossed in that yagya karma, and then that karma which is performed by you will give you any type of mortal result, but not any type of immortal result. So these are the opinions regarding karma, and because we are discussing the whole aspect of dharma in the pursuit of moksha, we need to clarify and we need to answer these questions in respect to attaining, with the respect of attaining mukti as a result of karma. Because mukti is not a mortal result, but it is an immortal result. And we are completely discussing the aspect of karma with the respect to jivatma, not just as a physical activity, a kshanik kriya performed by a individual being just for the sake of attaining any type of mortal benefits, but for the sake of immortal benefits for attaining moksha. So here, answering to the first question, where it is said that wherever Shastra is mentioning Swargalok, at that time that Swargalok should be considered as the mortal lok, just the way we have a Prithvi lok, we have a Narkalok, we have Swargalok, we have Brahmalok, etc. The type of the places where the Devatas reside, the place where a being travels, the Jivatma travels for attaining Punyafal and Papafal. So Swarga Lok should be considered to be the synonym of heaven. And wherever in the Shastra, Yagya Karma provides you the result of Swarga Karma, wherever it has been mentioned likewise, at that time we should just focus upon the Swarga Lok by considering it as a mortal result of karma. But in the Apastamba Shrauta Sutra, the Shrauta Sutra has mentioned a thing that Akshayam Havai Chaturmasi Yajinaha Sukritam Bhavati. So here the Shrauta Sutra means that the person who is involving in the Chaturmasya Yagya, after performing that Sukrit, it means that Punya Karma of Chaturmasya Yagya Karma, he attains Akshaya Fal. Akshaya Fal means immortal result. So here, wherever Agnishtom Yagya and the result of Agnishtom Yagya or the result of Soma Yagya or the result of Agnihotra have been mentioned by saying that a person attains Swargalok, or if a person is desiring to attain Swargalok, he should perform these type of yagyas, and there the Swargalok is interpreted as a mortal lok. But when Apastamba Shrauta Sutra is saying that a person attains Akshaya Fal by performing this type of karma, at that time the Apastamba Shrauta Sutra is focusing about on the type of immortal result by using the term Akshaya Fal and not on the mortal result. So now the conflict arises in for the sake of interpreting the term Swarga, that what should be the meaning of Swarga. And there Apastam Shrauta Sutra explains that Swargalok should be understood in both the ways, in the reference to Atma Sukh Roop Swarga and in the reference to Swargalok. So as we understood that the mindset of the karma karta is a very plays a very vital role about the sadhan he is performing for the sake of attaining any result. So there Apastam Shrauta Sutra says that if a person is having the intention of attaining mukti as a result of the karma, then the akshaya phal will be generated as a result of that nishkam karma which is performed through brahma gyan. And that akshaya phal, where the swarga phal is mentioned, that swarga shabda will not mean the mortal swarga lok, but it will mean atma sukh rupa swarga, where Jivatma will attain the Atma Sukh, the Ananda Dharma, in the capacity of being a Jivatma, and that Ananda will be attained by the Jivatma as a result of this Yagya Karma. And that's why it is mentioned in Apastama Shauta Sutra that it should be considered as Akshaya Phal. I mean, the immortal Phal. So the term Swarga, wherever is being used in Shruti and Smrutis, should not always be interpreted as the mortal Swargalok, but in the context of Akshaya Phal, it should be considered. And both the meanings of Swargalok are supposed to be kept into mind. The Atma Sukharup Swarga as well, and the Swargalok, which is ruled by the Indra Devata as well. So if a person is having the mindset of attaining the mortal result, then he will, his Jivatma, along with the Sukshma Sharir, will go to the Swargalok, enjoy the relishments of the Swargalok, and will come back to the mortal world after enjoying his Punya Karma. But if a person is having the intention of attaining immortal result through the Yagya Karma, through Nishkam Yagya Karma, which is performed along with Brahma Gyan, then that person will attain Atma Sukha Rupa Swarga. So the term Swarga in Veda and Smrutis both should be interpreted in both the ways as per the mindset of the Karma Karta. So necessarily it doesn't mean that all the type of karmas will just generate the type of mortal fruits and are not useful for attaining any type of immortal fruits. So Atma Sukharupa Swarga is equivalent to Mukti, from where the person doesn't come back. The Jivatma is free from the boundaries of birth and death. And that's how the 5 yagyas which have been mentioned in Shruti, Shrauta Dharma, are beneficial for attaining Atma Sukharup Mukti. There, again, for explaining the spiritual and philosophical aspect of Yagya Karma, the Rigveda says that Deva Narayana Angaja. Here, the Devtas are explained as the body parts of Brahman, the eternal reality, where Rigveda says that Indram, Mitram, Varunam, Agni Mahu Ratho Divyaha, Sasuparno Gurutman, Ekam Sadvipra Bahuda Vadanti, Agnim Yamam Matarishwana Mahu. So in this text, Rigveda says that Devtas, all the Devtas who are ruling different type of Yagya Karmas, they should be accepted as the body parts of a Yagya Devata. And whenever a person is performing that Yagya Karma by focusing upon the Yagya Devata and using the Yagya as the Upasana of that Yagya Devata for attaining that Yagya Devata, or for fulfilling his immortal desires through the Yagya Karma, at that time we should consider that Yagya as the Adidaivic Yagya Karma and not just as the Adibhautik aspect of Yagya Karma. And the same Nirnay has been given in the Brahma Sutra, Kallingadhyadhikaran of Brahma Sutra. The interpretations of these sutras will be discussed in the next juncture, where we will be keeping the opinions of acharyas regarding this aspect of Yagya Karma in mind. But as of now, the Rigveda means that Devata and the combination, the relation between the Dravya Tyag, which is being done by the Yagya Karta for the sake of Devata, is the whole spiritual aspect of Yagya. And at that time, that Yagya Kriya, which is performed with Brahma Gyan for attaining immortal fruit, is not a mortal Kriya, in spite of being involved, in spite of the person being involved through his mortal body. So, as we understood yesterday, that in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan says that I am in the form of the Agni, I am in the form of Yagya, I am in the form of Karta, I am in the form of Havish, I am in the form of the instruments which are Suraksrava, etc., the instruments which are being used for fulfilling the Yagya Karma, the Dravya which is being offered to the Devata through the Agni Devata. All these are considered to be philosophically the form of eternal reality, the Brahman, and therefore everything empirically being understood as the mortal objects or the mortal beings or a mortal kriya, but through its spiritual and philosophical aspect, by focusing upon the Adhyatmic and Adidevik aspect of Yagya Karma, that whole Kriya is just not a mortal Kriya like the other Kriyas we perform through our physical body, but that Yagya Karma should be considered as Adhyatmic and Adidevik Kriya, which is being accepted by the Devata on its spiritual level. And that's why it has the potential of providing the person a spiritual or the Adidevik and Adhyatmic results. So in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan says that Aham hi sarva yajnanam bhukta cha prabhureva cha natumam abhijananti tattvenataschavanti te. So here Bhagavan is focusing upon on the people who are not aware about the Adhyatmic and Adidevik aspects of Yagya Karma. And he says that I am the Bhokta and Karta of all the Yagyas. I am the regulator of all the Yagyas, and the people who don't know this tattvic aspect of Yagya, they don't even know what the Yagya is being done for. So if a person is not aware, completely aware about the spiritual and philosophical aspect of Yagya Karma, then the Yagya Karma being performed by him will not lead him towards any type of immortal fruit, but only generate the mortal fruits of the Yagya Karma, which have been mentioned there in the Shastras, along with the immortal fruits. But if a person is very well aware about Adhyatmic and Adidevik Paksha, then that Kriya, that Yagya Kriya should not be considered as a mortal Kriya, but should be considered as an immortal Kriya. So therefore, by mentioning the result of Yagya Karma, Bhagavan in Bhagavad Gita says that Yanti Deva Vrata Devan Pitrun Yanti Pitru Vrataha Bhutani Yanti Bhuteja Yanti Madhyajinopimam. So for whom you are performing the Yagya Karma, what is your intention behind performing the Yagya Karma? So for mentioning the diversities of intentions, Bhagavan says that who are doing the Yagya Karma for the sake of Devata, they attain the Devata. The people who are performing the Yagya Karma for the sake of Pitra Devata, they attain Pitra Devata. Those who are performing the Yagya Karma for the sake of living organisms, they attain Bhautik Rupa. And those who are performing the Yagya Karma for me, they attain me as a result of Yagya Karma. So Yanti Madhyajinopimam. So here Bhagavan says that they attain me if that Yagya Phal, that Yagya Havish is being offered to the Agni Devata for me. So what Bhagavan means here is that the mindset of the person is very important, and it will play the vital role for attaining the result of the Yagya Karma that person is performing. In Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan is also focusing upon the aspect of Yagya Karma, where it is just for the sake of expressing the gratitude towards the Devata. Well, where he says that Sahayagyaha Prajaha Srishtva Purovacha Prajapati Anena Prasavishyadvam Esha Vostushta Kamadu Devan Bhavayata Nena Te Deva Bhavayantuvaha Parasparam Bhavayantah Shreyaha Paramavapsita. So there Bhagavan says that Prajapati is creating the whole universe, he is managing the whole universe by keeping devtas and the mortal beings into consideration. So they both worship each other through Yagya, they both relate with each other through Yagya, and they attain each other through the relation of Yagya. So this is the Adhyatmic and Adidevik aspect of Yagya Karma, and that's why the result of Mukti, the mortal or immortal result, will completely be dependent upon the mindset of the person and the intention of the person through which he is performing the Yagya Karma. So the person who is completely ignorant about the Adhyatmic and Adidevik aspect will not attain any type of immortal result. But it is not so that no sort of immortal result can be attained by Karma Marg, or Karma Marg is not having the potential of generating any type of immortal fruit. It just depends upon the mindset of the person and his intention and his understanding regarding the form of Karma Marg. So this is what in a nutshell we had to understand while we had to discuss regarding the form of Karma Marg, because empirically we witness that karma are nashvan, and that's why a person cannot attain any type of immortal fruit through a mortal kriya. But Yagya Kriya, the Yagya Karma, and all the type of Nitya Naimittik Karma we discussed in yesterday's session, if done with the spiritual and philosophical understanding, then they don't remain mortal at all, but they generate the potential of providing immortal results to the person who is involving himself in that type of karma. Again, from the Shatapatha Brahman, about the question regarding the devtas being mantratmak or the devtas having any type of immortal physical body, and the devtas having the lok where the person can attain those devtas by performing the yagya karma as the upasana karma for the sake of that devta. So Shatapat Brahman says that sa yadvaishva devena yajate ते अग्निरेव तर्हि भवति अग्नेः एव सायुज्य सलोकतां जयत्यथ यद्वरुण प्रघासैः यजते वरुण एव तर्हि भवति. So here Shantapatha Brahman is saying regarding the Yagya Karma that devtas are not mantratma, but they have an immortal body. Their physical body is not like the mortal beings. They can be empirically experienced only with their own desire, but not just with the desire of a human being. But these devtas do have a immortal body, and that's why Shatpat Brahman says that when the Yajman performs the Vaishwadeva Yagya and Vaishwadeva Tyag is being done through Dravya Tyag during that Yagya Karma, he becomes Agni Roop at that time and he attains Salokya and Sayujya in Agni. The Yajman who is performing the Yag for Varun Devata, he becomes Varun, he attains Salokya and Sayujya in Varun Devata. And when he is performing the Sakamedha Yag, at that time he becomes Indra, and Indra provides him Salokya and Sayujya Mukti. So Sayujya and Salokya, the types of Sayujya and Salokya Mukti means that to become one with the Devata. Salokya Mukti is the type of Mukti in which a person is able to attain the lok where the Devata resides. So if Indra is living in the Indra lok, then the person who is performing Yagya Karma for the sake of worshipping Indra, he will attain Sayujya Mukti or Salokya Mukti with Indra. So if a Shatpat Brahman is mentioning the types of Sayujya and Salokya Mukti, which have been also been mentioned in Puranas as a result of Upasana tradition, when a person is worshipping Vishnu, Shiva or Shakti, and as the result of his Upasana, he attains Vishnu, Shiva and Shakti as the ultimate result, and he attains the Salokya Mukti in the Shiva Lok, Vishnu Lok or Shakti Lok. So the same way, if the Yagya Karma is also being used as for the sake of worshipping the Devata, then in that case, Shatpat Brahman is saying that evam tarhi bhavati indrasyaiva sayujyam salokyatam bhavati. So if a person can attain sayujya and salokya mukti in the Devata, then it clarifies the conflict where the Nirishwar Mimamsakas say that Devatas don't have any type of form or any physic or any lok, but they just have the mantratmak form in the form of the mantra which are being chanted during the Yagya Karma. So what I mean is that this is the Adidevik aspect of Yagya Karma, which is generally witnessed as a physical activity. But the person who is performing the Yagya Karma, if he is having the intention of attaining the Devata and he is using that Yagya Karma as the worshipping method of for the sake of Devata, then he will definitely attain the Salokya Mukti or Sayajya Mukti in that particular Devata. And the Phal of Mukti is also being mentioned by Shatapat Brahman here. So it clarifies the problem where the question was raised regarding the mortal karmas generating the immortal result. So mukti is supposed to be a mortal result. A person, the individual being or the jivatma will never come back to this mortal world after attaining mukti. And that's why if the Ved itself is denoting the types of Sayuji Mukti and Salokya Mukti in the Devtas who are the Adhisthata Devtas of the Yagya Karma, then the person is by performing that Yagya Karma with the Adhyatmic and Adidaivic understanding will definitely attain that type of result. And the karma will not just remain confined to the mortal results of Yagya Karma. But yeah, as we mentioned, that it completely depends upon the intention, mindset, and understanding of the Yagya Karta. Not each and every karma, not each and every vidhi will definitely provide the result irrespective of the understanding of the person. So now switching to the opinions of different acharyas regarding the karma marg being a method for attaining mukti and regarding the integration of karma, Gyan, and Upasana traditions, as Dharma, Purushartha has been preached in all these three traditions. So, switching to that part, now we will start with what Shankaracharya ji, Bhagavad Shankaracharya ji, has to say regarding the role of karma marg and integration of karma and Gyan for the sake of attaining Mukti. The first thing Sri Shankaracharya raises in, I'm just giving the reference, I'm not reading the Sanskrit text. The Brahma Sutra, Acharya Darshana, Tachshrutehe, Samanvarambhanat, Tadvato Vidhanat, and Niyamacha. In these 5 sutras of Brahma Sutra, from the 3rd chapter and the 4th part of Brahma Sutra, from 3 to 7th sutra, I'm taking the bhashya of all these acharyas into consideration and concluding what these acharyas have to say regarding the regarding their opinion, with the dharma being beneficial for mukti and integration of dharma with moksha, purushartha. So, starting with Shankaracharya. Shankaracharya, first of all, starts his argument by saying that is karma necessary for Brahmagyani or not? So, while keeping into consideration the aspects of karma and Gyan both, as we understood in the prior session, that Brahma Gyan is necessary for a karma karta if he wants to attain mukti as a result of his karma. In this case, if the question raises that what should be the secondary aspect and what should be the primary aspect for mukti. So, Gyan should be prioritized or karma should be prioritized, or karma should be used as the primary method for moksha, or Gyan should be used as the primary method of moksha. So, Shankaracharya ji raises a question by saying that if Gyan was sufficient for attaining mukti, then why did Brahmagyanis like Jana were involved in Nitya Naimittik karmas and they were living a life like a grahastha? And why did Uddalak, even after being Brahmagyani, asked his son to attain Brahmagyan, and in spite of providing Brahmagyan to his son, being a grahastha, why he was not a sannyasi, why he was a grahastha, and why he was following the dharmas preached for a person who belongs to the grahastha ashram. So here Sri Shankaracharya says that Yadeva Vidyaya Karyoti Viryavatkaram Bhavati. In this vachan, it says that Vidya can also become, Gyan can also become the Anga of karma, and Tam Vidya Karmani Samanvar Abhete. In this vachan, it explains that Vidya and karma, they both can be integrated with each other. Gyan and karma can be complementary to each other, and the person can attain mukti just not by Gyan but also by using karma as an independent method, by making Gyan the secondary aspect of karma. So here Sri Shankaracharya ji says that even when a brahmachari completes his brahmacharya ashram after attaining the Veda Gyan, the Shastra says that Acharya Kulat Vedam Adhikya Yatha Vidhanam Guroh Karmati Sheshana Abhisamavritya Kutumbe Shuchau Deshe Swadhyayam Adhiyamanaha. So here Shastra says that after a brahmachari completes his learning period and after he is done with understanding Ved and all the Smruti Shastras, he must start performing the karmas. And Kurvan Neveha Karmani Jijivishet. Here the Shastra says that even karma is important after attaining Brahmagyan. So Sri Shankaracharya starts his explanation by saying that if the Shastra is saying that karma is necessary for a Brahmagyani, then what should be the aspect of karma and what should be the intention of a Brahmagyani behind performing the karma? So when a Brahmagyani is very well aware that the whole universe is composed of Brahman, he himself is Brahman, he is not in the form of the body, pran, indriya or antahakaran. He is very well aware about his Atma being one with Brahman. At that juncture of Anubhuti Parak Brahmagyan, why the Shastra is asking the Brahmagyani to perform karma? Or what can be the aspects of karma which what sort of intention should be kept into mind while we are witnessing a Brahmagyani performing karma, for example, Janak and Uddalak. So there, Sri Shankaracharya says that Upanishad, the Brahma Vidya, which has been explained in Upanishad, it is having the it has the potential to provide mukti as an independent method. But in spite of that, Anushtaya karma, which has been explained in the Purva Kanda, is important while along with the Brahma Vidya. So what Shankaracharya means in nutshell is that karma is important for Chitta Shuddhi, and after attaining Chitta Shuddhi, a person becomes eligible for attaining Brahma Gyan. And even after attaining Brahma Gyan, for the sake of a Loka Sangraha, for teaching people, for preaching people, the marg of Dharma, the person who attains Brahma Gyan remains in the path of karma. He is empirically witnessed performing all the type of karmas as preached in Dharma Shastras, still being not being bound with the Dehabhiman, or not being bound, necessarily being bound with the boundages of Ahanta and Mamata. So the question which was raised regarding the Dehabhiman aspect of karma is refuted by Sri Shankaracharya by saying that even if we can witness Janak and Uddalak performing the duties of a Grahastha, performing the duties of a king, it is not necessary to consider that karma are just performed with by having Dehabhiman and cannot be performed without Dehabhiman. So a person who is considering himself eligible for performing the Yagya karma cannot be necessarily the Habimani person having the I-ness, having the Ahanta in him, which is the opposite character of Mukti, or cannot be considered eligible for attaining Mukti. So the way Bhagavan incarnates in different forms, and in spite of being God himself, Ishwar himself, when Sri Ram, Sri Krishna in these forms, if they are following the Vidhi of Shastra, where in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan says that Yadya Acharati Shrestha Tatta Devetara Jana. So when we witness our elders and the inspiring people getting involved into some type of particular deeds, at that time we feel that we get inspired by their deeds, and we feel that even we should be like them. And that's why for the Loka Sangraha, Brahma Gyanis also perform karma without being bound in Ahanta and Mamata. So that the karma which can be performed through Brahma Gyan, and the karma which keeps karma into priority, into the primary consideration, and along with the karma, if a person is focusing upon the Brahma Gyan and that karma is being performed through Brahma Gyan, then that karma is not necessarily considered to be a path which will bound a person through Dehabhiman, but it will be beneficial for attaining Mukti through Chitta Shuddhi. So Sri Shankaracharya keeps this opinion that Chitta Shuddhi is the primary result of karma. After Chitta Shuddhi, after the Antahakaran being Shuddha, because Nitya Naimittik karma, the Shrauta and Smarta karma, they will purify the body, sensory organs, prana and Antahakaran of an individual being. And after being completely pure, that person will be able to listen to the Brahma Vidya, and he will be able to experience the Brahma Gyan, and that's how it will be beneficial for attaining Mukti. So Chitta Shuddhi is the primary result of karma. Through Chitta Shuddhi, a person becomes eligible for Gyan, and after listening to the Brahma Vidya, being Chitta Shuddha, that person will attain Mukti through Gyan. So Gyan is beneficial for Chitta Shuddhi, but still the karma should be the anga of Gyan, and karma tyag is necessary on the higher stage of Brahma Gyan. And then by karma tyag, by being one with the Brahman, the Jivatma attains Mukti. This is the procedure which has been accepted by Bhagavad Sri Shankaracharya, and this is the way he has interpreted the beneficial aspect of karma with respect to Gyan Marg. So what the necessary aspect is that Brahma Gyan is not possible to be digested without Chitta Shuddhi. So for Chitta Shuddhi, karma is beneficial, and then Gyan is directly beneficial for attaining Mukti. The second aspect, the second opinion which we have to discuss is of Sri Bhaskaracharya. Bhaskaracharya is Karma Samuchit Jnanavadi, where he says that karma should have samuchay with Gyan. necessarily it should be samuchit with Gyan. And for being for having the samuchay with Gyan marg, Sri Bhaskaracharya says that even Brahma Sutra keeps the same opinion by saying that karma and Gyan are supposed to be samuchit with each other. They should be integrated with each other. And without keeping any aspect of karma or Gyan into consideration, Mukti is not possible at all. So there, Bhaskaracharya says that the karma should be used again for Chitta Shuddhi, but along with Chitta Shuddhi, the way Brahmarpanam Brahmahavir Brahmakno Brahmana Hotam, this vachan from Bhagavad Gita explains the role of Brahma Gyan in karma. So that Gyan is compulsory for attaining even Chitta Shuddhi. So Chitta Shuddhi is not even possible just by following the Vidivakyas of Ved, but only if the necessarily if the Yagya karma is being performed with Brahma Gyan, only then that karma can generate the result of Chitta Shuddhi. Other than that, even if the person is not Brahma Gyani, still he is performing Nishkam karma without Brahma Gyan, still he will not be considered eligible for attaining the fruit of Chitta Shuddhi, which is the most primary result of karma. So without Brahma Gyan, the Chitta Shuddhi can also not be attained. So Brahma Gyan should be understood in two aspects, the primary nature of Brahma Gyan and the secondary nature of Brahma Gyan. So the primary nature of Brahma Gyan will be just reading to the text, listening to the Guru Vakya and understanding the aspect of karma accordingly. But if a person is focused upon the Gyan aspect and is performing the karma with Brahma Gyan, then it leads to Chitta Shuddhi. And then Anubhavatmak Brahma Gyan, Brahma Vidya is possible, and then Mukti is possible. This is the opinion kept by Bhaskaracharya. Now, moving towards the opinion of what Sri Ramanujacharya will have to say. So, Sri Ramanujacharya says that the Brahma Vidya, which is explained in the Upanishad, becomes the Anga of Karma Marg, which has been preached in Purva Kand. And if this is what the interpretation of Jaimini is, then Bhagavan Vyas will not be having the positive opinion regarding this. Because the Jivatma who is performing the Anushthan of Karma, if he wants to experience Paramatma who is superior to Jivatma, then he should listen to Brahma Vidya. So the way a Brahmagyani involves himself in the Karmacharan and he performs the Karmacharan, at that time he gives the example of Brahmagyanis by saying that there are some cases where Brahmagyanis have also abandoned karma. Not necessarily they have always followed the karma marg, the kriya marg, the way Janak or Uddalak did. So in many cases, they have abandoned karma and still they attained mukti only on the basis of Gyan. So it is just not compulsory to have integration of karma and Gyan all the time. But in some case, it completely depends upon the choice of Brahmagyani that he wants to keep on going with the karma marg or he wants to abandon the karma marg after attaining the superior stage in Brahma Vidya. So for attaining Brahma Vidya, karma is necessary, but after attaining Brahma Vidya, it depends upon the choice of the Brahmagyani if he wants to keep going with the karma or if he wants to abandon the karma. So the way some people interpreted the Vidivakya of Shastra, that it is compulsory to follow the Vidivakyas of Karma Marg till the date a person dies. So till the date this body is surviving, our Jivatma is attached with the body and we are identifying ourselves with the body till that date following the karma is important. But the day a person becomes free from the Dehabhiman, he becomes free from the Dehadyas, it should depend upon the choice of the person and the person should be given the free will to choose between to choose that if he wants to follow the karma marg or he doesn't want to follow the karma marg and just remain in the sthiti of Brahmagyan or Gyan. So there Sri Ramanujacharya says that if Brahma Vidya is compulsorily considered to be the anga of karma, or if karma is considered as the aspect of as a secondary aspect of Gyan, then both these examples will go wrong, where some of the people, in spite of attaining Brahmagyan, have followed the duties of Grahastha Dharma, and some of the Brahmagyanis have abandoned the Dharma, the Karma Marga. So what he means is that the way we understood the conclusion from Bhagavad Gita, where Bhagavan said that Jnanagni has the potential to burn the karma. And whatever sanchit or kriyaman or prarabdha karma we have, till the date a person attained Brahma Gyan. It means, for example, in this life, a person attained Brahma Vidya, that Anubhutyatmika Brahma Vidya. But in his previous births, he has performed some good and bad deeds, and he has a sanchit karma of pap and punya, which are supposed to be offered to him in this birth, or he should go to Swargalok or Narkalok for bearing the fruit of Punya karma and Papa karma. But if the person attains Brahma Gyan in this particular life and still his Sanchit, Prarabdha or Kriyaman karma are remaining without providing him the fruit, still the Agni of Gyan, the Jnanagni has the potential to burn all those Sanchit, Prarabdha and Kriyaman karma, and the person can attain Mukti in that particular life itself by abandoning all the type of fruits he should face as the result of his sanchit and prarabdha karmas. So there Sri Ramanujacharya says that the Brahma Vidya has the potential to do the upamardan of Ashubha and Ashubha karma, and the Shruti is also accepting this thing by saying that Trayo Dharma Skanda Ete Punya Loka Bhavanti Brahma Sanstho Amrutattva Meti. So in he is quoting this text of this vachan from Chandogya Upanishad, where Chandogya Upanishad says that these are the three shoulders of dharma, and the person who attains Brahma Gyan, who becomes Brahmastha, Brahma Sanstha, and he attains Amrutattva as the result of his Brahma Gyan. So what Sri Ramanujacharya means is that it is not compulsory for a person to become bound with the dharma in spite of being Brahmagyani. So after attaining Brahmagyan, it completely depends upon the free will of the person. And that's why the independence of attaining sannyas by skipping grahasthashram and vanaprasthashram is also provided to many people. Sometimes it is appreciated, sometimes it is condemned by many people by saying that skipping the ashrama dharma is not good. But if a person becomes Brahmagyani, where he is giving the example of Shukdev, that Shukdev, the son of Vyasa, he attained sannyas at the very moment he was born. So he didn't even follow the brahmacharya ashram because he attained all the Brahmagyan being in the womb of his mother only. He was not willing to be in grahasthashram at all. He was not even willing to be in a vanaprasthashram, and that's why he was born with that particular condition that I will come out of the womb of my mother only if my parents will not stop me from going to the jungle or for accepting the sannyas ashram. So in this case, the regular flow of the dharma goes with the aspects of brahmacharya ashram, grahasthashram, vanaprast, and sannyas, in which a person can relish the balance of all the dharma, kama, and moksha purusharth being in these four ashram dharmas. But if a person attains brahmagyan at the age of where he is in the brahmacharya ashram and he wants to skip grahastha and vanaprastha ashram and directly he wants to attain sannyas ashram, even in some cases, this type of free will has been appreciated by saying that a person chose moksha marg over artha and kama purusharthas. So Sri Ramanujacharya, by saying this, he concludes that it is not compulsory to follow the path of karma after attaining Brahmagyan. So karma should be considered as the anga of Gyan, and both karma and Gyan should become the anga of upasana if a person wants to attain the superior result. So in that case, the bhakti which is propagated by Sri Ramanujacharya is karma jnana samuchita bhakti. And if not bhakti, then the madhyama phal can also be attained only by Brahmagyan by skipping the karma marg after reaching to the superior level of Brahmagyan. Now the third opinion goes with Srimadhvacharya, where he says that the supremacy of Vyasa should be accepted in comparison to what Jaimini has said in his Mimamsa. And where Jaimini says that Swarga is the result, minimum result a person can attain through following the karma marg, then if a person wants to attain the Swarga Sukh through his Gyan, then that person will be focused upon the karma and not upon the Gyan. So Maharshi Badrayan has to say that when through the power of Gyan, if a person wants to attain Mukti, then he should leave the Karma Marg, which the aspect of Karma Marg, which will be focusing upon the Sakam results and not upon the Nishkam results. So that particular karma, which are focused upon providing the mortal results, will become secondary. The karmas which are dedicated for explaining, for providing the immortal results, will come into as the primary karmas the person should focus upon. And that's why there are some cases, there are some examples in which even devtas are involved in karma. So Manushya, Rishi, and Devata, if we consider these three as the yonis, then even the people who, even the devtas who are in Deva Yoni, who are genuinely free from the bondages of birth and death, from the bondages of punya and papa karma, even they are witnessed, in spite of having Brahma Gyan, they are witnessed performing Yagya karma. They are witnessed performing the karma. So Madhvacharya places the opinion that that's why even after attaining the Brahma Gyan, a person should involve in the Vihita karmas, and for appreciating the karmas being performed by the Gyani, Shastra says that even if the Gyani is performing the karma, he is more appreciated than the person who is Agyani but performing the Yagya karma just on the basis of the Vidivakyas of Veda. So there he says that why Jnani is appreciated and why Ajnani is not appreciated. So there he says that Ajnani will only be focused upon the Pap and Punya Phal he will be attaining after performing the Yagya Karma. But it's in spite of being free from the bondages of Punya and Papa Karma, in spite of being free from the bondages of Ahanta and Mamata, if still Jnani is following the Vidivakyas of Ved, then his faith towards the Veda Vakya is more appreciated, because in spite of not being not being concentrated upon the result he would be attaining as a result of the karma he is performing, still he is involving himself in the karma, and that's why Jnani should be appreciated more if he is performing the Yagya karma. And if the Brahma Jnani is abandoning the Yagya karmas after attaining the superior stage of Brahma Gyan, he will not be appreciated, because by being in this mortal world among the mortal people, he should set a good example for the people, and therefore the karma which are performed for the sake of Loka Sangraha should be appreciated for the Brahma Gyani as well. So if the Devtas are also asked to perform the Yagya karmas, the Nitya Naimittik karma, then why the people in Rishi Yoni and Manushya Yoni should be kept free from or given a free will for choosing between the karmas? And that's why Madhvacharya says that whatever has been explained in Purva and Uttarkand of Ved should be kept on the equivalent ground. And that's why it is compulsory for all the beings to follow the Vidivakyas of Ved in spite of being Brahmagyani. And some or the other way, those karmas will still be beneficial for the person in spite of being in on the superior stage of Brahmagyan. Now, fifth is from the opinion of Shripati Bhagavad Padacharya, who has written the Bhashya on Brahma Sutra, being from Shaivaita Parampara. He is the propagator of a Shaiva Sampradaya, and he has written the Bhashya on Brahma Sutra, where he says that Gyan should not be considered as the Anga of karma, because Karma Karta, Jivatma, does not relish or experience oneness with the Shiv, but the Gyani relishes and enjoys the oneness with the Shiv. So he has been appreciated in a Vedanta Vakya, and that's why Yadeva Vidyaya Karoti Tadeva Viryavatkaram Bhavati. So on the basis of this vachan, he says that Tam Vidya Karmani Samanvar Abhete. In both these vachan, it is said that sometimes Vidya and Karma, they become complementary to each other, but always the person who is performing the karma with Vidya should be considered to be the superior one. That's why Kurvanneveha Karmani, on the basis of this vachan from Gita, he says that Gyan sometimes is seen as complementary aspect of karma, and karma being superior to Gyan for the sake of attaining Mukti when we are focusing upon the karma marg. But if the if the result of Mukti completely depends upon the Gyan aspect of karma, then Gyan should not be considered as the Anga of karma, but karma should be considered as the Anga of Gyan. So there he says that the person who is performing karmanushthan, if he is relishing the Shiva Bhavana, oneness with the Shiv because of because of being in the superior condition of Gyan, then that person should involve himself in a Nishkama karma, Nitya Namitik Nishkam karma, and those Nishkam karma will not bound him with the karma, and he will not be facing the Shubha and Ashubha karma phal of the Nishkam karma he is performing. But even in this case, when he is becoming free from the bondages of karma, that he is being free from the bondages of karma, not on the basis of karma marg, but on the basis of Gyan, with the power of Gyan. So Gyan should be considered as the Angi, and karma should be considered as the Anga of Gyan. So karma will become complementary to Gyan, and then Gyan will provide you the Mukti, not just the karma will provide you Mukti by considering Gyan as the Anga of karma. Now, switching to what Sri Vallabhacharya has to say, Vallabhacharya comes from the Vaishnavite tradition, so obviously he has the opinion that upasana or bhakti will give you the most superior result, not karma and gyan. But still, as the Yagya Narayan, the Gyaya Roop of Brahman, the roop of the form of Brahman, which is having priority of Jnana Shakti, Kriya Shakti, and Jnana Shakti Ubhay Vishishta Hari Narayan Shri Krishna. In these three forms, he has accepted the eternal reality to be one. So there, Sri Vallabhacharya keeps the opinion that though Bhakti Marg should be considered to be the best method for attaining the Parabrahma, attaining the Supreme Reality, but if a person is eligible and has been chosen by Ishwar himself to attain Mukti through Karma Marg and Gyan Marg, then that person should be faithful to Karma Marg and Gyan Marg. And in that case, if a person, if the Karma Karta is following the Karma Marg, then there he says that Yagascha Dharma Kama Sadhanam, Jnana Sahito Moksha Sadhanam cha. So here he says that Yagya can be considered only as Dharma Purushartha if it is being done for the sake of attaining Arth and Kam. And if it is performed with Gyan, then that Yagya Dharma becomes the sadhana of Mukti. So Jnana Sahito Moksha Sadhanam cha. So only without Gyan, if it is being done, then it will just become a method for attaining Arth and Kam. And if it is performed with Brahma Gyan, then it becomes the sadhan for Mukti, an independent method for Mukti. Here, he is emphatically saying that Gyan should be considered as Anga of Karma if a person is focusing upon the Karma Marg for attaining Yagya Devata as the result of and wants to attain Mukti in the Yagya Devata. So Gyan can become the Anga of Karma, a necessary Anga of Karma. And if a person wants to attain the Nirakar form of Brahman, the Akshar, he wants to attain Sayujya in Brahman, then he can follow the Gyan Marg. Still, Karma Marg in Gyan Marg, being complementary to Gyan Marg, will be used for the sake of Chitta Shuddhi. And if Karma and Gyan both are being used for the sake of Bhakti, then they will bear you a superior fruit. So here, specifically about the Mukti, the result being attained through Karma Marg, he is defining Karma Marg in three aspects by saying that if the karma is being performed with Brahma Gyan, the person attains the form of Yagya Narayan and Mukti in Yagya Narayan itself. If the karma is being performed without Brahma Gyan, then that person just attains Chitta Shuddhi through karma. If the karma is being performed with Sakamata, then it will just bear the mortal fruits. And the two types of Swarga, which we discussed about the Atma Sukharupa Swarga and the Swarga Lok, these are considered to be the most inferior results of Karma Marg, but they can be attained through these methods also. So the conclusion, though all these acharyas have kept different opinions regarding what is the use of karma marg and gyan marg for the sake of attaining mukti, or sometimes karma being complementary to gyan, sometimes gyan being complementary to karma. But in nutshell, if we understand that what these acharyas have to say is that it may be karma marg or it may be gyan marg, but both these margas, both these traditions propagated for attaining mukti, and the Vidivakya of Shastra, which provide us the law and order, the dharma, for the sake of following these methods for attaining mukti, they have the potential to bear the fruit. And even if it is a mortal fruit, even if it is an immortal fruit, whatever it may be, and whatever be the intention of the being behind being involved into any of the tradition of karma, jnana, or upasana, that being should be very well aware about what are the adhyatmic, adhibhautik, and adhidaivik aspects of karma are. So, if being unaware about these three aspects, if a person is getting involved into any type of tradition, it may be karma marg, it may be gyan marg, it may be upasana marg, being unaware about any of the aspects of adhyatmic and adhidaivik aspects, a person will not be able to even avail any type of mortal fruit as well. Because if a person feels that this is just a physical activity, which is just for the sake of attaining mortal fruits, and the devtas are only mantratmak devtas, they don't bear any type of adhidaivik form, or they don't have any type of adhyatmic shakti in them for providing the fruit, then with this mindset, if the same yagya karma is being performed, then that yagya karma will generate the papa phal and not the punya phal at all. Just let go of what the mortal and immortal fruits may be. So through the shastric perspective, which we need to focus upon regarding this talk and the session in which we are as of now, in this we need to be very clear that Dharma Shastras have very clearly mentioned the context, the Adhyatmic and Adhidevik aspects of these Dharma Kriyas, and the way people are not aware and are misinterpreting the dharmic kriyas, the dharmic anushtanas, because being unaware about what are the adhyatmic and adhyadevik aspects are, they won't even get involved into any type of dharma anushthan. They won't even be able to attain or avail any type of adhyatmic or adhyadevik fruit, and the loss Hinduism is facing because of misinterpreting these traditions is unbearable, which is happening nowadays. So even if we go through the commentaries of acharyas, the different acharyas, though they have different mindsets, they have different opinions to make, but still they are one on the ground that whatever Ved has to say has some type of adhyatmic and adhyadevik potential in it. It should not just be considered as arthavad. It should not just be taken into consideration on the basis of our empirical experiences. They should not just be judged on the basis of our uh, mortal understanding, and therefore the immortal aspects of all these dharma vidhis, dharmanushtanas should be kept into consideration while interpreting the text, while understanding the dharma marg for an individual as well, for the society as well. And whenever we are interpreting the texts, even at that time, all these aspects should be kept into consideration, and only then the path of dharma can be understood in a right way, which can be beneficial for the sake of attaining mukti. So here I am done with the topic which I had to discuss today. If there are any questions, we can discuss those.
Thank you, Maitri ji, again for another very insightful and thoughtful session. A lot of food for thoughts and reflection. Viewers, if you have any questions, you can leave on Q&A box. We have one question from YouTube. I'll just read it out. How does the Purana explain the ability of free will of a jiva? I mean, I think the question is about the free will of a jiva versus the fate or the control of life, the Purva Janma Karma.
Obviously, the Purva Janma karma will affect the current life of the person and the sadhana in which he will get involved, and the phal he should attain at the end of the karma he is performing. So yeah, what Puranas have to say is that obviously, if we are keeping the Puranic Dharma into consideration, then in that case, Puranic Dharma are focused upon the deity being supreme over the karma being performed by an individual being. So, as from Bhagavad Gita, we interpreted that Ishwar itself will choose the beings, he will himself decide the, the destiny of the individual being, through which path he should attain what sort of result. And that's why the whole cycle of karma, the whole aspect of karma will be ruled by the deity if he is in a worshipping tradition. So the Puranic Dharma will obviously focus upon the Kriya Shakti of Ishwar being prominent over the Kriya Shakti of individual being. So the karmas being performed by the individual being in the Purva Janma will also bear the result accordingly as per the desire of the worshipped deity.
Okay, wonderful. So I have a question. It appears to me from listening to this whole discussion yesterday and today that we have different systems of karmakand, or rather different systems of upasana. Basically, we have the Shrauta, we have the Shrauta Marga, we have the Smarta Karmas, and we have the Puranic system, and you also discussed the Tantra based upasana system. So while and the eligibility qualifications for each system is different, and there is some form of diksha in all of them, but the criteria is very different. For example, in Shrauta Smarta, the Varnashram Dharma plays a very important role. Who can do Veda Dhyana, who cannot do Veda Dhyana, and who can do Shrauta Karma and all not. So usually that is upheld as a somewhat of a discrimination. But it appears to me that when we speak of Sanatana Dharma as a whole, then while certain ritual systems such as Shrauta and Smarta has these certain restrictions, because it's a Upasana Paddhati, certain eligibility criteria is there. There are other ritual systems such as Puranic and Tantra, etc., where different eligibility criteria are there, so that everybody is catered to. Everybody has a path to attain moksha, to work towards moksha, towards gaining anugraha of the Bhagwan in whatever form they may be. So, so this has been my understanding from the last two sessions and my reading of the issue. So, can you share your insights into this?
About the eligibility criteria for Shraut and Smarta Dharma, you are true that we feel that it is some type of discrimination is there, specifically about the Varnashram Dharma between the male and females, and they are restricted from being involved into some other type of karma in Shraut, Shruti and Smruti both. While that eligibility criteria is opened up in the Puranic and Tantra Dharma, still the Mantra Puja and Nirmantra Puja, these two type of differences still remain there. That the people who are eligible, who have attained Yagyopavita Diksha, can perform Samantra Puja of the deity, worshipped deity, while the people who have not attained Yagyopavita Diksha should not perform Samantra Puja but must involve in their Mantra Puja. And these criteria have been opened up for the sake of Yuga Dharma, obviously, because in the Kali Yuga, dharmas don't survive in their purest form, and that's why shastras themselves opens up the ways. And specifically about the upasana and bhakti traditions, from Bhagavata Dharma, the way Bhakti Margiya Acharyas have opened up the criteria, they say that in by incarnating it between the people who are not eligible for performing Shraut or Smarta Dharma, Bhagavan opened up the eligibility for performing devotion in front of them. And that's why people who want to follow that path for attaining Mukti in that worshipped deity, they should follow that sort of path in which they are eligible. But what remains the same is that as per the what I understand is that as per the Marga eligibility criteria should remain the same. I mean, it doesn't mean that if I am eligible for performing Pauranic or Tantra Dharma, I should open up that eligibility criteria for Shraut and Spark Dharma also. Though, as per the Yuga Dharma, some dharmas become prominent, they become the primary source of attaining Mukti, and other paths are closed for the sake of attaining Mukti by keeping the Yuga Dharma into consideration and keeping the limitations we face because of being born in a particular desh or kal. And that's why these paths are closed, and it is good for the sake of protecting the purity of those methods and those paths. But yeah, equivalence is provided to all the paths on the basis of Yoga Dharma. What I understand is
I
that
think
yes,
it may also be pointed here that ultimately the point is about all these upasana paddhatis, all this dharma basically. Dharma by definition means that which lead to abhyudaya nishreyasa, right? So if a particular person or a particular path has not been given for a person, it means that that person will not be able to attain abhyudaya nishreyasa through that path. So
exactly.
therefore a different path is given. So
Yes,
it is not that the restriction is kind of an injustice to that person. Rather, path is unsuitable for that person to attain the Abhyudaya Nishreyasa. So a different path is given. So a more holistic understanding, I think, is that there is a path, there is a marga for everybody. And I think in Bhagavata Purana, if I am not mistaken, that when it lists the Samanya Dharma tenets, Bhakti is added to it. So bhakti, when it comes to bhakti, it means all the Devata Upasana margas are become open then. So you do not need an initiation into Shrauta or Smarta path to do Devata Upasana. You can do it
exactly.
in a Pauraneka marga, you can do it in a Tantrika way, you can do it in many ways, right?
But Bhakti Margi Acharyas have also accepted this thing that if a person is eligible for performing Shraut and Smarta Dharma, then he should get initiated into those paths, and then those paths will be beneficial to him in his Upasana tradition. So they can be complementary to each other. They can work as independent paths for attaining liberation. This is what Vallabhacharya has discussed in Tattvarth Nibandh while he is explaining the importance of Puranas, where he say that Puranas are open for all the type of varnas, even for the females who are restricted from performing Shraut and Smarta Dharma. So does it mean that Puranas were created only for the people who are not eligible for performing Shraut and Smarta Dharma? So answering his own question, he says that it is not so. Puranic Dharma can be beneficial to all the type of people who are even eligible for performing Shraut and Smarta Dharma, and also in the Puranic Dharma. So equivalent criteria is provided to all these type of dharmas, and as we say that anukalpa, vikalpa, etc. are provided for the sake of people who would be eligible for performing this different type of dharmas, and a person must involve himself as per his eligibility, and he must involve in the paths which are appropriate as per his eligibility and for the sake of his abhyudaya and distress.
Wonderful, wonderful. I think this provides a very integrated and a holistic understanding, more wholesome understanding, I would say, of the landscape of Sanatana Dharma, which is often missing in a very politically charged discussion on the topics.
Yeah.
So we do not have any more questions. So with this, we can end current session. And again, thank you, Maitri ji, for a wonderful and a very insightful elaboration on very nuanced topic. Viewers, do not forget to log in the evening at 5 p.m. And for the last final session of this weekend wisdoms lecture series on the role of Dharma in the pursuit of Moksha. With this, we conclude this session. Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha.